This was a very interesting moment in my life. I was at a very high level working as a pianist and coach. And the Staatsoper was looking for a new pianist, mostly for Italian repertoire. And so I came here and I did an audition, Vorspiel, and they engaged me. So I came here and worked for a few years as a correpetitor. And in fact, one of my first productions here as a pianist was L'Elisir d'Amore. I remember Anna Netrebko was singing and Charles Castronovo. It was a really, really nice cast. And yeah, and so then, you know, Vienna became sort of an important city in my life. My career was really developed from chamber music to Lieder, from Lieder to opera, from opera coaching to assisting conductors, and then from assisting to conducting. So my career now is conducting. I can still coach, I can still play, I mostly prepare singers on my own if I have an important production, but it was step after step. So I would say there was never a conflict between the two. In fact, one was the natural consequence of the other. No, it was really a development in my life that came with the passing of years and with experience. This you know, it used to be very much like this in the past, that great conductors would first be correpetitor in big opera houses or, you know, next to a great conductor, and then they would pick up the baton. So I went this way. So I had all the experience before of working behind the scenes, and then I became a conductor. I have to say that in my whole life as a pianist, and then secondly as a conductor, there were some people who have changed somehow the course of my life, who have influenced my decisions. For example, when I moved to New York, there was this very famous pianist who was student of Georgi Shandor, of Bela Bartok. His name was Georgi Shandor, and he picked me to go to study at Juilliard, and Juilliard was definitely a big turning point in my life. And my other teacher there, his name was Samuel Sanders, and he was the pianist of Rostropovich and Isaac Perlman, and he definitely influenced my musical life. Later on, when I came here, collaborated a lot with the Wiener Staatsoper, I would say that, you know, both directors that have been here, Hollander first, Dominique Mayer afterwards, giving me chances, first as a pianist, then as a conductor. One lady in particular I have to thank in my life. She's the person who gave me my first conducting opportunity, and she's an American lady, and her name is Doris Cross, and she's the director of the Yale University opera department. And she was the one who really said, okay, we give you your first opera to conduct, and my life definitely changed after that. First of all, the history of this theater, I mean, the tradition, the people who have sung on this stage and who have conducted from this podium, it's a big responsibility for anyone who is entering those shoes, you know. So, and then Vienna in itself is the capital of music in the world. It's, for a musician, I would say you breathe music everywhere. In the cafes, in the taxis, people love classical music. it's part of the culture, and as a musician you feel very, very appreciated in Vienna. Like you're someone who counts, who's important in society. It's a status to be a musician in Vienna. And this is very rare to find in any other city in the world. I think one of the most important things that characterize me in general is that I'm a very precise and very thorough musician in a sense that I like to work on the details and on trying to find what is the meaning of the notes that are written on the page in relation with the text. So many people that work with me, especially in new productions or even in a symphonic concert, can recognize that I like to work a lot with the singers at the piano. I mean, this is probably because I was a correpetitor also. So, and I work very much with the chorus on the details and with the orchestra. And so I like to create something special in the rehearsals. This is definitely something that it is my characteristic. Well, in Vienna, you know, a Wiederaufnahme with no rehearsals on stage or with the orchestra, most of the work is done with the singers in the room. And this particular Wiederaufnahme was very short period of time, but when you have great artists and great singers who know the music, that you trust, you know, sometimes even less time can create something very special, you know, on the moment. And with such a great orchestra and great chorus and regie, classical regie, where you don't have to worry too much about where the people are standing. It's great experience. Well, there's more than one. Definitely my debut here in Vienna, 2016 with La Cenerentola was a very significant night for me. My first opera at Yale, when I first debuted, Così fan tutte. And also when I first went to Liège, which is now a music director of the Opéra Royale de Wallonie. I went there with a very big title, which was La Jérusalem de Verdi. Not very known opera, but huge opera, Grand Opéra Français, and it was, you know, with no cuts. And the impact with the theater, the orchestra, the chorus was so great that they immediately asked me if I want to become their music director. So this was very important for me. And of course, Rome, my city. And this summer was a very special moment. I made my Los Angeles Philharmonic debut at the Hollywood Bowl, which is a huge place. Very different experience, but, you know, very special. No, I mean, I do love it, but here for now I've done Italian titles, but for example in Liège I conducted already a few French operas. In my future there is a lot of Russian and also German repertoire coming up. And since I do a lot of symphonic also, for me it's always very tricky with Italian conductors because people like to put us in the Italian opera box, but this is not the case with me. Of course, in Vienna there's a lot of Italian repertoire, so it's normal that with no rehearsals they would ask me to do mostly Italian repertoire. I do a lot of Mozart also, which is a bit Italian, a bit German, you know. I think a conductor should not limit himself or herself just to opera. L'Elisir d'Amore is a beautiful score. It's great music. Every duet or aria is famous. Beautiful music, beautiful tunes. Donizetti is very fresh, very refined composer. It's in particular here in Vienna, it's a gorgeous Otto Schenk production, which is historic in this house. So it's, I think that the public loves it just because it's, it's like a stamp, like the Rosenkavalier. So I'm very proud and very happy that I can conduct this piece. And then La Bohème is another big classic of this house because it's the Franco Zeffirelli Inszenierung, and I adore Puccini for many reasons. It's such a great, immense composer, and Bohème is one of those pieces that is always very close to my heart. So to do it here in this setting with this orchestra, this chorus, it's particularly moving, I think. Donizetti is a genius, and of course, if you study the score very closely, you can see how refined and really perfect this music is. For example, I conducted La Fille du Régiment, and with the new production, so with many rehearsals, then you can really, find all these little details. And it's not true that the orchestra is second level from the singers. In fact, everything that the orchestra plays is directly connected to what the singers are saying. So I would say that L'Élysée d'Amour in particular is, for many reasons, for famous tunes and everything. But we have to be very careful not to fall in the vulgarity with this music, which is very easy, as is with Puccini. If Puccini is over romanticized, over, in German, Schmulz, over milked, then it becomes too much. Whereas Puccini is very, very precise in the way he writes, where he wants a ritardando, where he wants corona, where he wants... And when it's done quite fully to what he wrote, true to how it's written, it is very, very powerful. With Puccini, the thing is that people want to add more and more. It's like having a cake and wanting to add sugar all the time. Eventually you get sick, but if you keep the cake at the right, then it can be, very delicious. You don't need to overcook, sugarize the music, because it's already there. As I said, here it's part of the repertoire, so you can really mostly work with the singers and the chorus before the performance. In the performance, it's a Spur der Moment, in the moment you create. What is great about these very historic productions is that mostly these directors placed the singers in very logical positions. Therefore, even without an orchestra rehearsal, everything makes sense. So if the conductor is clear, the singers know what to do, it's, you can really make something very, very, very special. Today, with modern and new productions, which are also fantastic, but sometimes you really need a lot of rehearsal because things have become more complicated, there's more acting, more, more sometimes overacting, and so there's a different kind of challenge there. There's a great regie behind, but it's as I said, everything makes sense, so yeah. Well, usually I arrive 1 hour before. I go to say hello to every singer. I remind them of where are the dangerous spots, where it's important that they really look at me, and then I go and the hairdressers make my hair, my makeup, just like a singer. You know, I need care, and then I just go and get dressed and try to focus on the performance. So, and then afterwards, usually I go to eat. Usually.
With a good glass of wine.
And maybe no, after a performance, beer is better than wine because it's more refreshing. I think with opera and theater and culture has to go with the times, you know, with what our time is about. So we cannot deny that today the internet and you know, connecting live is part of our lives. So in order to reach a broader audience and also make sure that people who have never been to the opera have access to it, it's very, very nice that we can bring culture and music and opera in particular in the computers of people. But of course the hope is that they will watch and then want to come to see it live, because of course it's a very different experience. And yes, it's important, but I also believe that opera is not a movie. It's a live theater. So I think that it's great that we have these opportunities, also because we are all connected with fans all over the world, and you know, someone who's in Los Angeles can open their computer and see, okay, what is Speranza doing tonight, you know. So it's a wonderful wonderful opportunity and platform that I think is part of who we are as a society today. So it's always very welcome. No, if you think like this, you will never step on the stage. In other words, you cannot make that influence how you are performing or affect you, because in a negative way, I mean. Of course, knowing that there's cameras on you and microphones can create more nerves, but you have to sort of eliminate that, otherwise it becomes about something that shouldn't be. We should always concentrate just on what the art form is and what we need to convey to our audience, not, you know, think differently because there's a camera on you. Otherwise it becomes fake and not real.